Hello, Chris, or Chris Bacchi, if you will.
It would
Bacchi,
be Bacchi, yes.
I feel like that's what I said, but let's just go with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, who are you? Why are you here? What are we about to do?
So my name's Chris Bacchi. I am here just because I love playing Kill Team. I love the game, and I love getting people into it. So I was able to bring myself and a few of my other teammates out to the East Coast for this beautiful Kill Team Open, and we're here to roll dice and have a lot of fun and hopefully win.
Okay, but why are you here on this team? Why are we having a face-off?
Well, it's been widely speculated that Glass may be a better player than me, and some people say I'm better than Glass, and we need to settle this with a final showdown.
That's true. First and final showdown.
First and final,
yeah.
And only with the top tier meta teams, because otherwise it says nothing.
Makes no sense.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, top tier meta teams. You've picked the top of the Imperial teams. The
Kasrkin.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Virtually undefeatable team because
they're really strong. Really strong.
Super strong.
I'm really scared if they're 3-up BS, right?
3-up BS would actually be so broken overpowered that it's not even worth, they would have, it was a Custodes level on release.
Okay. So we're playing with 4-up, so
4-up,
have a chance.
4-up so that anyone has a chance, really.
Thank God.
So it'll only be that. It's a 10 operative team, 7 wounds, 8 would be too much. 4-up saves, because 3-up would be too much. And we'll see if anything can stop that freight train.
Okay, and what are you running into me, whatever I may have?
I'm bringing you the demo because that melt of mine is delicious.
Got to. Sure.
Hotshot Valley Girl because she is amazing and she always gets that P1 off. And then my Silent Sniper because any silent weapon that I have is a joy. Leader with a plasma pistol and a few other troopers, stuff here and there, and all the support pieces.
Okay, excellent. And of course, going into me, I knew you were taking one of the top teams out there. I wanted to match that, because look,
like meets
people think that I'm very self-deprecating, right? So
of course.
And people think that I mean what I say when I say I'm a bad player. We all know that's not true.
No.
Obviously. But, British humour, etc. And people think you're a good player. And I'm like...
They have the illusion.
Yeah.
It's false.
So I think if I beat you, people will realise the self-deprecation and they'll be like, okay.
It was a ruse.
Exactly. So going into you, I was like, okay, you're taking the top tier Imperial team.
Ultra team.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm a Xenos man myself, not Chaos, top tier, Xenos. So naturally I wanted to bring...
Path.
Hierotek Circle.
Hierotek Circle,
right.
exactly.
There you go, you got it. So I think we all know about them, Look, I don't like to be a meta chaser, as
no one does, right?
No,
but when it's all the stakes are here, right? This is for all the chips, all the money, all the prizes, right? This showdown right here, and you got to bring your A game.
That's right. Now, obviously, in that case, we're talking the Hierotek Circle.
Of course.
We're talking the Necrons. We're talking.
Yes.
They literally have mastery over time and space.
Yes.
So,
and death.
Yeah. Reanimation protocols.
Yeah.
Super clear wording. Nobody needs to question that.
No.
Works.
The token plops down just when it says it does in the rules.
Exactly.
It's very clear.
Exactly. Do they come back? Do they become a viable team? 50-50.
Yeah.
That's what you like to see in a team. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not.
That's how the top players always rate lack of consistency as the number one thing that makes a team competitive.
Exactly. Now, so I'm playing into Kasrkin. I'm thinking, you're not a horde team. You're kind of middle of the pack. Yeah. But because you have 7 wounds, I've got to decide Gorse or Tesla. And my thoughts are, I'd probably go Tesla, and I'm probably going to put those the extra splash range because that way you are going to struggle to get out because suddenly I've got a 6-inch radius, really hard to dodge.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's the right call. Obviously, Kasrkin loved that medic cheese, and in order to help his buddy, medic has to be within 3 inches. And guess what else has 3 inches? That's splash.
And then of course I've got to consider the crypt tech. Now, not only do you have to consider which of the 3, you also have to consider which crypt tech action.
Of course.
For me, naturally, I really want to go with Technomancer. I really want to have that buff to my reanimation protocols. I know my guys die. And you have the AP to make that happen real quick. You're looking at intercession and thinking, I've probably got the AP for that. Oh, yeah. I've probably got the elite points for that. I'm 4 wounds less. So I'm like, you're going to kill me. And in a sense, with the reanimation protocols, I could almost put your extra AP to waste.
Absolutely.
However, There's also then the Chronomancer?
There's also the Chronomancer.
I'm not sure that's the one I mean. Yeah, it's the Chronomancer.
He's the one with the time bomb. He can give himself the feel no pain
feel no pain with the speed. I mean, that's really tempting. He can put it on himself, he can put it on somebody else. And one of the big negatives to Hierotek Circle is their melee.
Yep.
They just don't have it. But who has less melee than Hierotek Circle?
There's one team that comes to mind as having even less than that, and not even equipment to help bridge the gap.
No, is it like Legion?
It might be Blood, Warp, Worm.
You know, we can't think of it right now, but I'm sure it's there.
Yeah.
So suddenly I can play a little bit more aggressive, and maybe I do want that extra speed, that fly to move around the board a little bit, that feel no pain to get into melee and come out almost unscathed. So I actually haven't decided, and on the walk back down to the table, I'm going to pick between the two. What do you think?
I think there's a lot of really interesting counterplay between all three of the different actions. I think the Psychomancer's ability to deny me crits is really punishing against hitting those breakpoints that Kasrkin won with the ranged weapons. I think the extra speed of the Chronomancer's abilities can also be really powerful. And of course, the Technomancer reanimating is also obviously very strong. And Kasrkin, all they really want to be doing is killing. And if that's sort of slowed down by the fact that things are coming back, that really hurts them. A lot of what slows down that reanimating is getting locked up in melee and having that melee leapfrogging going on. Yeah. And Kasrkin aren't going to do that. So,
well, you know what? Let's take it straight to the table. Okay, guys, you're about to see a sped up, cut up version of the game we're about to play. And then we're going to come back and we're going to have a chat about everything. But hopefully you should see everything so you know what's happened. You're going to get us talking. All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We are playing the capture mission, which means we don't need to action on a point to score it, and we're free to move off the point and it remains ours until the enemy steals it. We both pick a free dash in the scouting step, and as Chris was the defender, I dash first, then he does. Kasrkin get a free additional dash, and I had paid for a forward deploy on my death mark, which should happen at the start of the firefight phase, but I do now by mistake, but it won't affect anything, not to worry. I have my death mark and immortal on the left side on engage, everyone else concealed. He has his plasma and grenade launcher on engage, everyone else concealed. As the attacker, I give initiative to Chris. We both play no strategic ploys. I reveal the TAC Op sees ground on the hatchway I tap now. Recon Trooper moves and opens the door. My accelerator gives +1 APL to the Despotech and moves to the point. Medic moves and opens the door. Despotech opens the door, moves and dashes. His leader opens the door and moves. My Immortal moves and dashes. Demo Trooper moves up and plants explosives. My Deathmark moves and dashes. His Plasma moves and dashes. My Immortal moves and dashes. Hotshot Valley Girl moves, dashes. Apprentech moves. His Grenade Launcher moves. My Reanimator moves. His Melter moves. My Cryptek moves up and is over 2 inches from the wall and so is well obscured, but Chris passes me the Holy Laser Line tool for me to properly check. His comms guy gives +1 APL to his Melter, then his Plasma. His Sharpshooter dashes and that ends the turn. We both score 3 points for primary. A very standard turn 1, with the left side looking to be our main point of contention that could easily lead to initiative winning the game. I win initiative with a 5 to his 4. Knowing this is a big turn, I dump my CP into Relentless Onslaught and Undying Androids, allowing me to reroll an attack dice when within 6 inches, and I can always retain a dice in a save roll, regardless of if I have cover or not. He counters with Reposition, which is what we're seeing on screen here, and Clearance Sweep, which gives him a free elite point when we're within 4 inches of a token he puts down, also shown on screen. I declare my TAC Op Secure Center Line and Central Control. He goes with Eliminate Guards, picking my Tesla Immortal on the left side. He also picks Secure Zone and stacks it on my Plasma Sight Accelerator. I move my Apprentech up to stand in front of the door and guard. He has his Demo Trooper open the door and shoot my Accelerator. 2 hits, 2 misses, elite point boost to miss to a crit, and as the Accelerator is 2 defense 5 up save, dies. I move my Immortal to the side of the room and open the door. His Plasma opens the door and wrecks my Cryptek with Overcharged Plasma. Once again, elite point swapping a miss to a crit, so 2 hits, 2 crits, to which I use the Reanimator Plasma Sight to possibly bring him back next turn. This also scores him 2 VP for killing the leader. He then moves away with his 3rd APL that was carried over from the last turn. My Immortal takes a retributive shot at the plasma, killing him easily with 2 hits and 2 crits, but he medics the guy back to life. I then move forwards a bit. He immediately takes a shot with his hotshot lasgun, getting 2 hits, 2 crits, and elite points to push a hit to another crit. I save 2, taking me down to 2 health remaining. I move my reanimator plasma sight onto the center line. His sharpshooter kills my reanimator. I mean, obviously. He did have to use neutralize target though, so it's a moral victory for me, and I even refuse to roll my defense dice to show how little I care. A true Alpha Chad move. My Immortal moves round to shoot that trooper. 2 crits and a hit, and that's a dead trooper. He activates medic and heals himself. I dash with my death mark to get on the center line, then guard. With my activations finished, his comms gives +1 APL to his leader and the dude with a crack grenade. His leader then charges one of my Immortals and wrecks him, then shoots overcharged plasma into the second Immortal. Through a combo of rerolls and elite points getting 2 hits and 2 crits, I use my reanimation ploy. His melter opens the door and my Apprentech guards, choosing to shoot instead of a hatchway fight. I get 1 hit, but a reroll for being within 6 inches and a CP reroll on the other 2 leaves me with 3 hits. He saves 1, taking 6 damage, then shoots me and hits enough that I don't bother with a defense roll. I then get an overwatch with my death mark into his guy with a crack grenade. Thanks to splash weapons getting lethal 5 up in confined kill zones, I get 10 billion crits and he dies. Hotshot Valley Girl swaps to conceal, moves and closes the door. End of turning point 2, and he scored Headhunter and 3 on the primary. I scored Secure Center Line and 3 on the primary. I roll a 6 to his 3 on initiative. Into turning point 3, and both my Cryptek and my Immortal reanimate and come back with 5 wounds, meaning my Cryptek is injured but my Immortal is fresh as a daisy. For ploys, I played the same as turn 2, rerolling within 6 inches and retaining a save. Chris passes ploys and declares my leader as the guard to eliminate. I move my Cryptek forwards a bit to be base to base with the Immortal so I won't lose attack dice on the shot. Cryptek action so my guys don't count as being injured, then shoots the Kasrkin Sergeant, easily getting the kill. Sniper moves up and kills the Immortal through rerolls and elite points and stuff, I guess. Or he would have, but my Cryptek had the equipment that lets those within 3 inches have a 5-up save against mortals, so he actually lives on 1 wound. The Immortal returns fire, melting the sharpshooter's face. I then move backwards to avoid getting him killed by the plasma. A mistake, as the Cryptek had intentionally left him there so that the Kasrkin would be at -1 attack dice when shooting at him, who is both the more powerful model and worth a VP from Eliminate Guards. Medic then moves and heals the plasma. My death mark moves onto the center line and guards. Plasma activates and uses the adrenaline shot equipment to ignore the -1 APL, completely surprising me. Who knew that was a thing? And then killing my Cryptek with the worst overcharged plasma rolling I've ever seen, killing himself too. But he uses medic to keep him alive again, and in a brief moment of solidarity between foes, we both agree that the medic ability is bollocks. My final activation and my Immortal gets to within 3 inches of the center lane guards. His demo moves to get on the point. Valley Girl opens the door and moves onto the point. Melter passes. Finally, comms gives +1 APL to Valley Girl and Melter. End of the turning point and he scores 4 to my 1 on primary. He gets secure zone and eliminate guards. I max secure center line and get 1 for central control. Final turn and he gets initiative. With his last command point he uses reposition. I know at this point I've lost and so give myself rerolls within 6 inches so I can at least have fun getting some kills. First activation, his plasma kills my Immortal, who is the eliminate guard target. The plasma also kills himself with 1s, but again, the medic is such an amazing piece of rules writing that the plasma lives. That's right, the plasma has died 3 times in this game, but whatever. My death mark moves to within 2 inches of his hotshot Valley Girl and headshots him. Boom, headshot. His melter moves, dashes and melts my death mark. My final Immortal stays within 3 inches of the center and rolls super hot to kill the melter. We finish up some final moves, but nothing matters. End of the game, I finish on 11 and he finishes on 14, including points for painted.
So, that went pretty much as expected, I think we can say.
I think so.
I'm gonna guess the the viewer caught on that our ruse earlier at the beginning.
Perhaps we weren't as subtle as we should have been.
Yeah. Obviously, I think we both expected you to win purely because Hierotek Circle
Purely are indeed very, very poor. And the fact that Kasrkin can't do melee is barely offset that Hierotek can barely do it any better. There was that one fateful move you made where you opened the door and did the fight with me, and you didn't even kill the trooper you fought. I was able to parry you out and survive on a single wound. And that's pretty crazy.
It is what it is. But at the same time, a lot of people underrate Kasrkin. So it's not like you took Breaches into me.
Yep.
You took what a lot of people consider to be maybe the third worst team. You know, so it's not like the power differential was crazy. But I think well, let's just very quickly recap in our minds the game.
Yep.
Obviously, they will have just seen it. Can you think of any like critical point where like that was the mistake? Or that was the great play by me, or that was the dice that changed it?
I don't think we had either side have too much dicing going on. I think it was overall pretty even, especially because Kasrkin can sort of even out their dice when they need to. I think the biggest mistake you made was you made the hard push for the refused flank on your left side. And what that allowed me to do is I basically said, there you go, you've got that room, I'm gonna stack a bunch of people there knowing that I can start building up the APL, and I can do a pseudo breacher style maneuver where I can just run in the room and start blasting when I'm ready. But what I was able to take advantage of was on your right side, you were very weak, and I was able to sort of ping you, and I was able to use reposition to really conservatively use that 2 APL. I got the hot shot las gun shot off on your plasma sight to get me secure zone. Secure zone was just great because I could kept chasing you where you were weak and project all of my force right there. And I found that really, really effective.
Yeah, so obviously I basically agree with your analysis, but I suppose I could tell you a bit of my thought process. So I had picked C's access and central control and secure center line, and potentially that is all scoreable with like 1-1.
Yep.
You know, like almost.
A juiced up cryptek.
Yeah. So I decided, okay, I've picked the access there. I'm just going to put every guy I have right there on the board and see what happens. Because when we had set up in deployment, you had begun to show a strong flank on the right. I thought, I'm just going to give it to him. And then the only reason I moved my plasma side up was so I got that point for at least a turn and kind of give you the choice of, well, do I want to go and get that or do I want to push into the middle and try and engage? Obviously, you then had a plasma.
Yep.
Why would you put all
plasma does work.
Yeah. And then the medic just revive every single turn.
So obnoxious. Kasrkin keeping each other in those 3-inch range bubbles, you were able to take advantage of a little bit with the splash, but you simply couldn't accrue damage with it fast enough. And it was the chip damage where you do a little bit to the medic and he just heals himself back up. And what I was able to do is those critical reposition moves I did it on turn 2 and I did it again on turn 3, and those made me so efficient.
I mean,
crazy good.
If you're Kasrkin, in my mind, you play reposition every turn and elite points, and that is what defines your team. You have some other things.
Sure, those two tools define the way that I use the team. Absolutely.
And comms.
And comms, just sitting back, tagging people.
Visibility.
Nope.
Turn 1, maybe put him on a point, and they just pop.
Yeah, if you can get lucky with one of those maps where you just deploy him, where you can do secure zone, that's super efficient.
That's amazing,
But yeah, normally he has an APL battery for the entire game, and I'm fine with it.
I guess we should talk a little bit about what I did over in the left-hand side. Where
Yes.
I tried to play into you, and ultimately we were putting 3 of my guys into 3 of your guys, and you out-activate me. So you could just say, I don't know what to do, I'll do something else. I was just like, I needed to know what you were going to do for me to be effective over there, and you just didn't do it. So until I'd done my thing, I accept that the majority of my misplays were on that side of the board and letting you get my cryptek.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the cryptek.
Yes.
So the cryptek is something that I would say misplay, as I lose him really early. And as we were playing, you were saying like, yeah, I've played Hierotek Circle before, and the cryptek's an injury.
Yeah, so the cryptek I think is a really hard piece to juggle when you're playing Hierotek, because if you're too conservative with that power piece, then you're just walking around with what equates to about 5 immortals. Whatever.
right? Or you're getting really aggressive with this model that only has 13 wounds. That's just not enough to hit any meaningful breakpoints. It's a little bit better after the FAQ, but it's still so fragile and has such a huge profile that anything on the board can easily take advantage of that fact. And even when I was drawing TAC Ops, I originally picked Headhunter because I thought it'd be kind of like funny and it's like thematic to go for the leader, the Cryptek. It just makes sense, right? And I ended up realizing, oh my God, now I've just put you in this vice where because of that, I'm about to get points or you don't use the model, and that's painful. You had your APL comms near it, but I think you would have needed that APL comms over in that room that you took, the heavy room that you secured, because then you could have comms one of your immortals, moved up, opened the door, and shot. And your inability to ever do that was a huge thing in my favor.
If I were to redo that matchup, and I knew you and knew roughly what you were going to do, I think I could have come out, not on top necessarily, but doing a significantly better job. So I'm not saying there was perfect play there, but I do think that in general, I think we can all agree, Hierotek Circle are at quite a disadvantage at the moment.
I agree.
And this was a pretty good showing of what a casual player can do with them, and ignore the score. You essentially just dismantled my team.
Yeah.
You know? I got reanimations off.
You got a ton of them off. It just didn't matter.
And I rolled my, the best possible wound back. He was like, oh great, another kill.
Yep.
Oh, super.
Yeah, you're going up to, because you never even had the time to turn on the Technomancer abilities, so.
You could argue that was a bit of a misplay. I could have done that with the Apprentech before, because obviously when you go into turn 2, it's like, you have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
And I decided to try and block you with the Apprentech by the door. Really, he should have moved and then Cryptek actioned. But besides
Hierotek suffers so much from their tools being relatively inflexible to being slow naturally until you pay the buff. They have issues with the mobility, the melee, and then also those 2 plasma sites. They're only 5 wounds defense too. I mean, they just drop immediately, and you were just so short on actual tools to fight me, and it just really showed. I think Hierotek badly need more APL. They need more juice, because I don't see, I feel like if I was running Hierotek, I don't know how much better I could have done. Legitimately, that it's just so lacking for useful tools.
Yeah, I don't think they're an unfixable team, but we have to wait to see what they do.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say unfixable at all. I think the team at Games Workshop has done an excellent job, in my opinion, of making these teams that people originally decried as there's no play there, and actually giving them some tools and making them work. I think the same can be done for Hierotek, but I still think they definitely need something, and we didn't go far enough in the last balance, seriously.
That's great. Hierotek's over this up. What a take. Kasrkin, though, obviously a lot of people do think they kind of suck. Now, I'm not so much drawing on our game, because it almost felt like you didn't need elite points into me.
Yep.
You did use them, but I don't think you needed them. However, when I recently played them myself into Pathfinders, I found myself loving those elite points. I've got to be honest, I played against Kasrkin a few times. This was my first time playing them. They're not terrible.
They're not terrible. I think a lot of the doom and gloom sentiment about them, I think, comes a lot from fixating on that 3+ ballistic skill stat that they do not have.
Coming over, we expected Vet Guard were almost exactly Imperial Guard from Compendium. We expected Kasrkin to be silenced.
Yep.
They're not.
And I think it makes the team so much more interesting to play. I played Novitiates a lot last year, and I had these little thoughts in my mind of this feels a little bit like Faith Points again.
Yes.
And I really, really enjoy the system. I think fundamentally there's nothing wrong with the elite point system. There's nothing wrong with that 4+ BS. I think ultimately the team has problems because against teams like Hierotek and against Intercession Legionary, they actually do very much okay, and they're a solid team. Then they have another bucket class of teams where they just are a disaster. Sure. And that's something that I think is going to be interesting to see how the team at Games Workshop, if they decide to make any changes to them, what exactly do you do? Because you can't just give them more elite points, I don't think. You can't just make them hit on 3s. The team would just skyrocket and steamroll those elites even harder, and they're still going to struggle when they run into Pathfinders. So,
yeah, it's so difficult to find a targeted buff.
Yep.
But with that said, when we're looking at, let's not get too into the stats, but currently they're only just below the 45%.
Yeah, I think they're around 40 to 43%.
I believe so, yeah. And if we think about, obviously, they're a new team, a lot of that was highly sought after for 40k.
Definitely.
So they haven't had a high enough pick rate to really show where they are. Maybe they'll drop. Maybe as more people get hold of them, they'll be like, oh yeah, no, these suck.
We saw that a lot last year. We saw that at the rise and fall of Vet Guard. We saw the rise and fall of Novitiates.
Sure.
I think Harlequins had a little bit of a bounce too, where they climbed up to 70%. They dropped, and then they got nerfed, which was interesting to see.
All in all, it was a really fun game though, obviously. Yeah. Thank you so much for running.
It's fantastic.
Now, final portion. What do you think I need to work on myself to become to take it to the next level? Because you're a pro.
So I think there's something that I actually struggled to adapt to early on when I started playing the Crit Ops pack, is that there's this natural stalemate that develops on all these maps, because there's always 3 objectives on each side. And the game naturally lends itself to, if nobody makes a push, that you go even 3 and 3. And I think the biggest skill to work on as a player, especially in this pack, both inside and outside, but I think especially inside, is focusing on how to break that stalemate, how to get that one thrust of the knife to get that final point to take the lead. Especially on a mission like Loot, a 1-point lead early on by locking down that point and your opponent can't tap it can take you to the run of the game and win. So that's what I really focus on, is sort of the way you balance between your right and left flanks. And really thinking about making sure that I couldn't get my, that demo trooper play in later. Because I think that single thing over there, by keeping that flank vulnerable, made it too easy for me to bring a piece over. Now, how you deal with that as Hierotek, I'm not sure.
So just move faster with the slowest team in the game. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Great. No, but I totally understand. An early push can really swing the game in your favour.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yep.
And ignore Hierotek. I tend to play a very conservative turn 1.
Yep.
And then you're right. You end up in 2 lines, and at my skill level, it's just like, well, let's see what dice do.
Yep. Yeah. You see what dice do, and you also have to be somewhat cognizant of which teams can just sit there and collect points.
Sure.
Anyone with recon archetype can just sit there and collect their token. Security can sometimes do it. But so you got to be aware, what archetypes does my opponent have, and if this turns into a passive game, are they going to win by default, or will I win by default? And it's great if you win by default if it's a passive game, because then you can just kind of hang out and keep the doors closed. But you don't always have that choice.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you very much. That was a great game.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Do it again another day.
Yes. Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
You too.
Bye, everybody. Look at each other, look at that, whatever, it doesn't matter.
It feels like it'd be weird to see us just staring at each other and talking.
No, I agree.
It feels like we should be talking to the camera. Yeah. And like glancing a little bit at each other and most of the camera. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, totally natural.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. But
very chill.
Good.